Good evening, everybody. Today, we are going to see how to ace a job interview, specifically for the role of data scientist. Let me share my screen. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Today, we're going to see how to create a resume that stands out and build your personal brand. Then we'll move on to seeing how to clear an interview. And once you clear an interview, how to choose the right job offer and how to negotiate so that you get the package that you're looking for. Okay. So generally, this is the interview process. In BUDDI.AI, we also go by this process. So first we do a resume review. We receive resumes from the applicants. We either have the ATS applicant tracking system or the recruiter team, manually shortlisting the CVs. Then that goes on to a pre-screening process where we have aptitude and programming rounds. It can be an online quiz or various programming rounds. Once a candidate is shortlisted over there, then he or she is scheduled, invited for a discussion, technical discussion, where they understand the kind of projects and the various skill sets that they have acquired. And then once they're shortlisted there, we have a hiring committee meeting where there's a panel of people, both from technical and the human resources team, together meet the candidates. Here, mostly we check the candidates' competencies, their skill sets, the team fit, the culture fit, and the value fitment. So once a person is shortlisted there, then we go on for negotiation, and then the offer is rolled out. Usually we call it an offer packet because the offer is not just the salary, it also has the growth, the career progression, the benefits, all of it. So it's an offer packet that we give the candidate. All right, there is a general checklist while building your resume, and there are a few key tips that you have to follow before you make your build your resume. First and foremost is to understand the difference between a resume and a CV. A CV is a detailed document of all your experience, your projects, skills, academics, etc. While a resume is a summary of the same, which are relevant and only the key information is given. So always ensure you have one or maximum 2-page document. Don't go beyond that. Nobody has the time to read it. So keep it short, simple, and to the point. And second, check your objective statement. Ensure that you don't copy paste the objective statement from your friends or the resume of the internet. Keep it personal. Ensure it has your goals and not a vague or a generic statement. If you're not sure about your objective statement, have a summary statement where you can, summarize all your strengths, achievements, qualifications, your interests, and keep it, 3 to 4 lines, sentences. Okay, keywords, consider ATS. ATS is nothing but applicant tracking system. Most of the bigger companies, IT companies have this. Your resume gets shortlisted by this tool. So ensure that you go through the job description. When you're applying for a job, you go through the job description, whatever keywords are mentioned there. If you think you have those skills, if you know those languages, if you know those tools, have it entered in your resume and then apply for the job so that you don't get rejected by the system. All right, so ensure to have the right keywords, and you do not get rejected by a system. And most often, okay, even when the recruitment team is looking out, they don't have time, so they just go through the relevant keywords and see whether you're a fitment for the job. For example, instead of just mentioning the technology you're familiar with, ensure to mention the actual tool or the language that you're trained in. For example, um, don't mention deep learning. If you know TensorFlow in deep learning, mention that, and don't just mention machine learning. If you know tools like NumPy, Jupyter Notebook, Pandas, ensure to mention all those. All right, that's more important, and let's not get rejected by some tool or some recruiter because of this uh, you know rejection criteria. All right. uh, this is also a reason why I stress the difference between CV and a resume. In most of the companies, they use ATS to shortlist resumes. So let the algorithm search for specific keywords, and most matches get the highest preference. So if you have just 4 matches out of 10 keywords that they've listed, you're not preferred. So if you have 8 matches out of 10 keywords mentioned over there, you will get the first call. So yes. And then use real data, be honest. Be honest in what you know and what you don't know. You should also be clear in what you know, what you don't know. If you know it on the surface level, don't mention it. If you know it very well, then yes, you should mention it in the resume. Don't amplify, don't exaggerate your skills and experience. Try to maintain a unique structure. Um, Most often, what we find is the same exact project or same exact assignments when we hire from the same college or class. So you're all studying in the same batch. Probably you did the project together, your assignment together, but don't copy paste it. Don't have the same thing mentioned. Try to mention what is your contribution in that project. You might have done something, your friend must have done something in that project. So you have to mention the unique thing that you contributed towards this. It is easier for us to reject if the whole batch, if it is all a copy pasted resume, then there's no nothing that you've learned from there. That's a perception usually the recruiters have. So ensure that you mention your contributions, and you do a different project and don't have a copy pasted project or assignments mentioned in your resume. It's easy to find out whether it's a real one or a fake one. And then moving on, we have structured and well aligned. I mean, it has to look neat, and it has to be well formatted and aligned properly. You can use tools like LaTeX to do the job for you. And there are a lot of online tools which you can take help from to keep it aligned and neat. Proofread, spell check. So this, I cannot stress how often this gets overlooked. This is the most important thing. Do a spell check. It shows a lack of efforts if you don't do it. It shows that you don't care if you're not, okay, grammar mistake is fine or spelling mistake is fine, but uh, the turn off for both the interviewer and the recruiter is to find a spelling mistake or a grammar mistake. Okay, so once you do up the CV, get industry expert or a mentor to go through the CV and ask him if everything is ask him or her if the CV looks fine and if there is anything else that can be added to the resume. All right. So I have given a sample resume over here, a data scientist resume over here. You can highlight with different so yeah, here's a summary, and you have the contact details, the LinkedIn page, or if you have an account in Kaggle or GitHub, you can mention that over here, the phone number, email ID. And then if you have work experience, you can mention the work experience, and then the skills, technical skills that the certifications you've got. And it's always better to have a link to these certifications and education interests, all of this. So this is an ideal resume. So one page, everything is there, one view, you can see all of it. All right. So are you a data scientist? Let's find out.
Patterns. We see patterns everywhere. Yes, patterns are omnipresent. We cannot imagine an asymmetrical and sporadic world. Patterns bring peace, perfection, and predictability. Even though we are just one among the n things present in the supreme universe, remember, we make a difference in the lives of our nearest neighbors. As a data scientist, our life is spun around data. We don't just load them into data frames. We observe, we play, we talk, we love, we hate, we hang around with data all the time. In short, we date the data. Like humans, it opens up as we spend more time with it. Strategically, conquer the cluster boundaries by making the right moves. Checkmate and rule the fate. Data is the force, and let the force guide us. With pandas and lambdas, unleash your power to reveal the patterns. Time-bound your research, measure, analyze, and control every part of your search. This ternary relationship between the mind, machine, and math is unfathomable. Binary love binds it with the unary goal of finding beautiful fractals. The marketplace is open, and the problems are many. Get to the whiteboard, design and build products that impact this world. If you don't, someone else will. We scrabble to bring sense out of all the random Gaussian nonsense around us. Add new skills to your arsenal. Sharpen your mind. Use the right weapon for the right fight. The data war has begun. Winners are the ones who have the power to subdue the chaos in it. Are you going to subdue it or succumb to it? The stage is set. The data is ready. Play the game. But remember, do the sampling from the right distribution and eliminate the outliers. We have the mind and metal to remove mayhem out of the equation. Math gives us the power of vision to see everything that's obscured behind the madness. Gradual decline into disorder is perilous. Let's not tread the path of pseudo-randomness. Vigil is what you need as your will, but the error that creeps can never be nil. The calm before the storm is so tranquil, but terror follows after being still. Math is just a myth. You know, we are not bound by its rules. We desire entropy, and not the so-called peace trophies. Ooh, the game has begun. That's a good strike, ain't it? DS is just BS. Rush, scientists, rush! Rush, scientists, rush! Oh, wait. Let's introduce chaos and mayhem. No. It's mayhem and chaos. Creative messers, you see. By the way, nice to mess with you and your trained mind. You're being trained to follow an order from the womb to the tomb. You learn, you earn, and finally you cry and yearn for your life. Being predictable is nothing more than Pavlov's dog. You hear a bell, you salivate. But I am the one who rings the bell. Ding dong bell, look who is in the well. Ha 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 ha. Homo sapien once used to be a wise man, but now a shameful, selfish idiot taking orders from machines. How stupid you can get, lending your natural intelligence to build something artificial that's going to rule over you. What you see? Order, perfection, patterns, peace, predictions everywhere. You're just suffering from chronic deja vu. Want to experience Shamaivu? Come. Let's be random. Let's be erroneous. Let's be outliers in the society of liars. Who put you in? You never gonna win. Ha 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 ha. Do you think AI can rule this world? Never on my watch, and never in the rule of the pawns, and never in the reign of the outliers. Who pulled you out? Be ready for knockout! Ha 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 ha! Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't wage war against you. In fact, I need you to be part of me to eliminate and destroy the set order around us. Enter my kingdom, where the anomalies are the first-class citizens. It is not God, and you're not the angels serving it, and neither are we the demons against it. Come, follow us. Let's grow, multiply, and then divide and destroy the patterns around us. Where are you, pattern man? The perfect one? Hiding yourself in a pool of points? Shameless sapien, find us, stop us before the time runs out. Don't be deaf to the call of randomness. I am the chaos and mayhem everywhere. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
All right. So I hope you all can relate to this, as we have made this video as a call out for the data science job aspirants. You can respond to this call with a data science resume. And now let's find out how a data science resume should look like. So what we look for in a data scientist resume, first ensure that you mention all the projects, internship experience that you have, that you've acquired. So don't list out any templated, copy pasted from the internet projects or experience. If you've really worked on some experience, and if you've really worked on a project or some real world problems, list that. Do not fib, do not lie on the resume, because during the interview, they will definitely find out what is fake and what is real. So keep it honest and real. And moving on to contributions and links, do contribute on the websites mentioned over here. There is Kaggle, there is GitHub, Stack Overflow, and mention all of that in your resume with a link. And usually the interviewers and the recruiters, they go on the link to see how many stars you've got and how many folks you've got in GitHub. They see what is your contribution in Kaggle, how many discussions you've had in Stack Overflow, what is your contribution over there, LinkedIn, how many connections you have, what are the groups that you've joined, what sort of content you're posting. And if you have some publications, then you can mention that, list out in Google Scholar. So these are few things that you can do. And just for the sake of listing all this in your resume, don't create a profile. Start creating and working on projects right away before doing the course, because we also see when you start contributing. If it's just an empty shell, then we don't give any weightage. We need to see some contributions to each of these that I've mentioned right now. So keep it real. When you are actually doing all this, you also get to learn, share your thought process, and you meet different people, and the exposure that you get is onto another level. So yeah, also mention all the skills and certifications that you've acquired. Don't mention generic skills like MS Office. Be very specific, because we assume that from the IT background you must know MS Office. If you know something specific in Excel, then you can mention that, but don't have generic skills mentioned over there. And if you have certification, if you have taken courses from GUVI, you can give the certificate link over there. You can upload the certificate and give the certificate link over there, so that we know it's not some random courses. It's a scheduled course that you've completed and you have a certificate for it. There are a lot of people who just mention some workshop that they attended, or some boot camp for 2 hours, 3 hours that they attend. They mention that in the resume. We always find that out easily. So if you're telling that you're certified in something, ensure that you have a certificate attached to it to supplement what you claim. All right, and you can mention whatever hackathon, whatever conferences that you've participated. This shows that even participation can be mentioned. This shows that you've had some level of exposure, even if you've not secured a first rank or second rank or some prize. You should mention it, so we know that you have exposure and you try to do something from your end. So mention your education, the awards, honors that you've got, if you have any publication that, and any conferences or hackathon that you've participated, you can mention that as well. And in okay, when coming to extracurricular activities and hobbies, um, we laugh out when we see. I have personally seen a hobby called sleeping. So, and people have just mentioned reading books, and when we question reading books, so what is your favorite book and what did you learn from that, people don't have answers. So if you're mentioning any hobbies, only if you're serious about the hobby and if you're passionate about it, even if it's traveling, you can say what sort of where all you traveled and what you learned from that, what different cultures you've seen, what different cuisines you have tasted and what you liked. So um, have some explain, I mean, only when you're serious and passionate about your hobby you should do that. And if you have any recognition from that, then you can mention that as well, otherwise you can skip it. Now that after making such a beautiful resume, I'm sure your resume is going to be shortlisted and you've been invited for a discussion. Let's see how you can excel in answering these general interview questions. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is how a GitHub page should look like. We can see what are the contributions. We have 62 contributions in the last year, and how many folks and stars you've got for each thing that you have posted. And over here, you can see what sort of expert you are. Are you contributing to the data set? Are you a competitions contributor? Are you a notebook expert? So we know, yeah, how good are you with documentation, discussion expert? Are you contributing to a lot of discussions? Are you giving solutions to people? So we see all this, and we also have our analysis assessment using this portals. LinkedIn is a very important tool. You can learn what is happening in the industry. So have your presence in LinkedIn as well. All right. So okay, generally in discussions, especially the hiring committee discussion that I told you earlier, we see suitability over eligibility. Obviously, you have gone through the resume shortlisting, all these pre-screening process. So for us, it's more on suitability. How enthusiastic are you? How passionate are you? How what is the drive you? So the PhD over here is nothing but passion, hunger, and drive. So we look for passionate people who has a hunger and drive to learn and achieve. And nobody likes a dull boy, right? So you have to show your personality. You have to show that you're enthusiastic and you're eager to learn and grow. So that's more important. And do a very good research about the company. Study the company thoroughly. um, After studying it, you can customize your resume. You go through the domain that they have listed there. If they are from healthcare, for example, BUDDI.AI is into healthcare technology. So if you have some exposure in healthcare, you can mention that over there, so that gives an edge over others. So depending on the type of job and the company you're applying to, you can customize your resume. And every company has core values. So you can mention those. For example, BUDDI.AI has values like innovation, collaboration, result orientation. So you can demonstrate those values when you're attending the interview, when you're talking to the interviewer. And ensure to check all the latest news, anything that they have uploaded on YouTube, or any content they have uploaded on LinkedIn. So you can also mention that you saw and what you liked, and you can give your feedback and suggestions on the same. So do a very good thorough search about the company and talk to them about it. So it shows that you're keen in getting into that company. You are keen in joining the company. And rehearse the general questions. So there are a lot of general questions that everybody asks, and if you don't know how to answer that, then it shows the lack of effort again. So Questions like, tell me about yourself, strength and weakness, why you want to work here, what are your aspirations, where do you see yourself in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, describe yourself in 3 words, what are your hobbies and interests. So you should have answers for all of this, and you should be confident when you speak this, because you're talking about yourself, right? So you should be very confident when you tell all these things, and you cannot be confused, or you can't be thinking over there. You have to do your own SWOT analysis. You should know what your strengths are. You should know what your weaknesses are. And you need to take time to reflect, and that should come across when you are having the discussion. All right. So you can practice it over and over again till the time you get the confidence, and you can ace it. So these questions are generic questions, and you can quickly answer and get away with it. And ensure to mention the value that you can add to the company, at least 3 to 5 things that you can do for the company. For example, you can say you need very less supervision. You can manage your work on your own, and you're a person who likes to accept change. And you can also mention that you like to take ownership, and see to that you complete the task at hand. So these are a few things we expect from the freshers. More than the technical things, they need to have accountability, ownership, and they should be accepting of any change that's coming their way. And nobody has the time to sit and spoon feed or babysit. So when we give a task, we want them to figure out, go on they have to learn on their own, and come up with a solution. So yeah, little supervision is what we look for. So you can mention all these things during the course of the discussion. So that will also give the interviewer a good impression about you. And at the end of the discussion, they always ask, this is a very tricky and catchy question. They ask, do you have any questions for us? You should not say no, nothing. You cannot say that. You need to have at least 2 to 3 questions ready to ask at the end of the discussion. This shows that you're keen. This shows your interest in joining the company. So you can ask questions like, what is the focus area for me within few weeks of joining? What advice you would give me to excel? You have met me, you know my strengths and areas of improvement now. So what advice you would give me to excel in this question? So you can ask such questions to the interviewers. All right. So you have, I think you have. So here are a few must-have skills for a data scientist. It's a consolidated one. Uh, we look for maths and statistics skills. You need to know statistical modeling, machine learning, that's obvious, clustering, regression analysis, VDA. And you should be very strong in soft skills and domain knowledge. But as a fresher, yes, nobody expects you to have domain knowledge, but yes, you have to be strong in soft skills, programming, database, communication, visualization. So whatever like if you don't have, if you have a coding intensive resume, that also you can mention during the interview. All right. Till now, we have seen how to ace any interview. Now, let's dwell into clearing a data science interview. All right. So, when it comes to data science interview, you must have done some projects on this field. So, when you're explaining the projects, you have to keep STAR in mind. You have to explain the project like a star. So STAR stands for, S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and the result. So what was the situation at hand, and what is the task that you were assigned, and what actions you took, and what was the result from doing that action. So you have to mention it in this way. I can give you an example, a very relatable example. So if somebody is asking you for a recipe, okay, you know cooking, and somebody is asking you for a recipe of a, how to make a dish. So first you will start with what are the ingredients that are required to make the dish, and in what quantity you need it, how much, the measurements. And then you will say whether you have to dice it, slice it, or chop the ingredients, right? So you have to be that specific and in detail. And throughout the process, I mean, you have to explain the process and till the presentation part of it, how to present the dish. So when to connect it with data science life cycle, data scientist life cycle. So you have to explain the entire process, if you don't have a data, then what was your approach in synthesizing the data set? So you have to start from there. Then you have to talk about EDA, exploratory data analysis, and what was your approach there. And then when a problem is at your hand, you first have to apply your mind even before jumping into algorithms. So first apply your mind, understand the problem, see whether think and see whether you'll be able to, with the algorithms that you're going to start, whether you'll be able to find a solution. And as a fresher, yes, of course, you have to keep working on the algorithms, but for an experienced person, they know they can use the intuition and they can come up with the algorithm. So that's what they do. And then of course the evaluation process, you need to see whether it's a business based KPIs, or if it is ML based KPI, like should we use FN score, or to measure the to evaluate the process, and then way up to deployment of the product. So you have to, how you've done it, you have to explain the whole process. So be detailed. Don't explain anything on the surface level. So your approach to the and when they are throwing a problem at you, your approach is more important. The interviewers usually look for your thought process, how you are approaching the problem, more than the right answer. Even if you give a wrong answer, it's fine, but your approach and thought process is more important than the solution that you're giving. So you have to be honest in what you know, what you don't know, and answer accordingly. All right. And technical skills are important, but auxiliary skills are even more important. So only if you communicate, people will understand what you're trying to say. So work on communication skills. You should be a very good team player. You should be able to take decisions at the right time. So these auxiliary skills are more important as well. So work on building that, as well as your technical skills. And we like people who change the mode of the interview from from an interview to a discussion to appreciating your work. Like for example, we will start in the interview mode, and then it will turn into a discussion, like, yeah, okay, how did you approach this problem, what is the solution, etc. And then when we find out the way that they have dealt the problem, then we move on to a phase where we keep appreciating the work, and that actually at the end you should ensure that you should make the interviewer entice you to join your company. That's what happens when we really get impressed on the projects that they have done and they're able to explain it. Then we try to, during the course of discussion itself, we try to entice them to join our company. We want them to join our company, and that will reflect through the rest of the discussion part. All right, I'm going to give you more tips and hacks for the data science interviews. It's important to practice take mock interview with your mentor or friends. Very often, all of us, most of us, we might have done the project. We might have, we know how to do the project, but sometimes when it comes to explaining, we're not confident, we may fail. So that's where preparation comes into picture. So you need to practice, you need to take mock interviews with your mentor or friends, keep rehearsing, so that you're able to explain what you have done. That should not be a roadblock for you. So once you are able to explain, then everything falls in place. Or when you do that, try and control that. This is a very key hack tip for you. Have a control, try to control the environment, like you drive the interview. So when you're explaining the project, you should know where to stop. So the next question that comes, you already know what question is going to come, and you have the answer for it, right? So you should know where to stop and ensure that the next question is from where you left off. Okay, so you have the answer. So you were changing the entire process, like you're driving the interview. You know what is going to be asked and how it's going to be asked. So obviously you will clear it with flying colors. And be confident, know the reactions of the interviewer. Sometimes just to intimidate you, they might have some other reactions. They might have uh, question mark in their face, or they might do something. Just ignore their reactions, say what you have to say anyways, because end of the day, you don't have anything to lose. It's an experience. It's you're learning something from the interview process, from the discussion. So think of the maximum consequence, and ignore all this, and be confident, and drive the interview. And prepare 4 to 5 algorithms. Do a real world application, practice it. You have to show that you understand the mathematics of the algorithms, and ace it over there. And have the right tone. Don't show overconfidence. Show that you're curious. And when you don't know, you can say that I will learn. My learning curve is very steep. I can quickly pick up. So that's the confidence you have to give, because we don't expect everybody to know everything in the world and come, right? There are few learnings after you come. So it's okay to say that you don't know and that you're willing to learn it. So this is about how to ace a data science interview. All right. So now that you have cleared the interview process, and you're selected for the job, now you have a couple of obviously, if you do, and the resume like this, and if you do the interview like this, obviously you'll have many offers in hand. So how to choose the right job offer? Many times we are in doubt. Like, I have an offer from startup, I have an offer from a big company or service company. Which offer to take up? Should I go for the role? Should I go for the CTC? So your aspiration is the answer. So you need to find out what you actually need and why you actually want it. Your requirement might be different, and you should also analyze what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and then you choose the right position. What is your aptitude towards all of this? If you don't enjoy doing the job that they're offering, then no point in picking up, even though they're going to pay you a paycheck. So only if you enjoy what they're offering, pick it up. And identify the driving factors. Like, don't be driven by anxiety or the salary, just the salary, or social pressure. Just because your friend is earning XYZ number, don't think you should also earn that. See what you want really. Like, do you want salary or job satisfaction? Spend time, reflect, finding out what you really need before you accept a job offer. I have a small video to see, not just for this. This is going to be helpful for throughout your career when you're moving to a leadership position also. So it's a 3-minute video.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well.
Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. Three is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come two more people, then three more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
All right, so you have to follow your heart, go with your gut. So you might have two offers, one from a big MNC and one from a startup. So if you believe the values that the startup has resonates with what you have, then you should join, the startup. I can give a real life example. A couple of years back, when Buddy was just starting up, we advertised for data science job, aspirants, and then we had one candidate who was already, getting good pay package in a very well-known, popular company in Chennai, and very well placed, very happy, but was not very happy with the job role that he was doing. So he was ready to come down as an intern, and he wanted to learn data science. Today, I think he is mentoring a lot of other data scientists. So he took that risk, and now he's successful. He did what he wanted to do, and now he's successful. So that's what I wanted to tell. So do what you like. First, find out what you like, and if you enjoy doing that, just do it. Don't look at other benefits. Benefits will follow. All right. So let's move on to negotiation. So first of all, when can you put a price on the tag? You need to have a very good product. The packaging has to be very good, and then you can put a price on the product, right? The product is you. By packaging, I mean the skills and competencies that you have. No one should be able to reject you. And then you put a value to yourself. So you should know what you are capable of, what you can contribute, and then ask for what you need. So have the product, a quality product, package yourself a better way, and then put a price. Ask for a better package. And yes, develop the skill set where no one can reject you. So find out what are the skill set that is required for doing that, particular dream job, and then develop that so that no one will be able to reject you. Do a very good research before getting into negotiation. So all the information is available on the internet, right? So if you're applying for a company, what is the minimum salary that they're paying for that particular job, what is the maximum salary that they're paying for that particular job, and map yourself where you stand, and then you can ask what you need. And if you have other offers, you can be very honest about other offers, and what are the reasons that you've declined, and why are you keen in picking up this particular offer. and always look at it as an opportunity. You have to consider not just the pay package, you have to consider other personal benefits, like, is the workplace very convenient for you to travel? Are there other flexibilities? Are there work-life balance? Are there growth opportunities? So you have to look at all these factors before deciding, and you can also have these as factors before negotiating with them, or what you're flexible with and what you're not flexible with. And never ever quote an absolute number. Like, don't go and say I'm looking for 6 lakhs per annum or 8 lakhs per annum, unless they specifically ask you. So don't quote an absolute number. It's always a range. You can, probably say, I'm sure this company pays a competitive salary, and I'm sure for the values and for the skill sets I bring to the table, you'll be able to compensate me fairly. So negotiation is also one area where the company has an opportunity to shortlist, reject a person, because it is one of the very few first interactions you have with your potential employer. So you should set the right tone, and you should start with a positive note. So this is a very, very key thing, where they see your attitude, the way in which they negotiate. So emphasize your bottom line impact. Show what you can do. Never say, others are getting paid so much, so I also need this. So never ever quote that, never compare yourself. Just say what you can do, what you're capable, and always practice your pitch before you talk to them. Rehearse, practice is what I can say. So thank you very much. I hope you had an enriching session. My name is Sudha. You can reach out to me if you have further questions at sudhav@buddy.ai. You can check us out on www.buddy.ai. You can follow us on our LinkedIn page. And of course, you should do your certification course with GUVI.in. We also hire from GUVI. And data science course coordinator number is given there. Note down and give a call. Thank you. Over to you, Rajeshwari.
Thank you, Sudha. Ashok here, actually. So thank you. It was a very wonderful session. So guys, before going to the Q&A session, so I'll be launching a poll. Okay, so please do answer them. I launched the poll. It will be in your screen now. Please do answer it. So we will wait for like 1 or 2 minutes, and then we will move to the Q&A sessions. That's great. Users are filling up. Cool. Guys, please fill the poll. We will wait for like 20 to 30 seconds. Then we will move to the Q&A session.
Yes, it's visible. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I'm just going to give a short introduction to how do you go about cracking the DS technical interview, such, right? So the agenda for the session is going to be, first, we are going to look at how do you go about creating a data science portfolio before you start applying for the job. Then what are the things that you need to keep in mind when you are building your resume? Then essentially, what is the pre-interview preparation that you need to do? What are all the skills that you need to showcase in the interview? And what are some common data science interview questions as such, right? So a little bit about myself. Again, Raji gave a wonderful introduction, but myself, in my own words, I'm a mathematician by training. I work as a quantitative analyst in financial services industry, and I primarily worked for work for ML algorithms, building ML models for financial purposes only, for risk management, be it investment decisions, and also to do some detection of fraud and intrusion, right? So currently, I take pride in saying that I work as a data science mentor with GUVI, where we have been fortunate to train a lot of students as such, right? So the first thing, right, as I told you before in the Q&A session also, the way in which I think about it, right? DS interview preparation actually starts months before the interview as such, right? The day when you are convinced that you want a career in data science, right? That's the day, right, the interview preparation essentially starts. You will have some idea whenever you would like to move into data science, you will have some idea about which field in data science, right? Because you can go for data science with FMCG background, you can go for a data scientist as a financial analyst background, data science with a climate science also, as I heard, mechanical engineering field also. A lot of my students are from mechanical engineering background, right? So you will have some idea of which field you would like to go to, right? So the first step, right, whenever you are applying for any role, your resume must essentially show that you have the right skills and you have showcased the right skills that they essentially are looking for, primarily with respect to data science, right? And one of the easiest way to essentially look for data science, like to showcase your data science skills, is by doing the projects as such, right? That's where my first thing comes, right? How do you go about choosing the right project, right? The project, the way in which I would go about choosing it is, I would essentially work in the field which I would like to move to, or I would go for a field in which I already have some domain knowledge. For example, if I am from the mechanical engineering background, I'll take up a data set to do with something with mechanical engineering. I'll try to do that because I also have the domain knowledge. I will be able to contribute to the project based on the domain knowledge also. And then usually don't take very common data sets as such, right? Very popular data sets that a lot of people in Kaggle have essentially worked on. I'll try to avoid them as such. The reason being, the moment you take uncommon data sets, right? And when the interviewer is essentially asking you questions, he sees that project in your resume, he'll get excited about it. He would like to know more about that project as such, right? It will add some value for him also, and you will be also be able to say as to how you added some value to that project. And then also choose the projects that have some business use as such. At the end of the day, when you do a project, it should convert to business insights as such, right? For example, you did a demand forecasting project. Then how did you convert it into business? We were able to predict the demand correctly so that we did not lose the opportunity cost, or we also did not have like over demand as such, right? We are able to avoid such kind of things. So always choose projects that would, in the fields where you would like to move to, or the fields in which you already have some experience. Take uncommon data sets, not very popular data sets, and also projects that have some business use as much, right? That is a first key step towards choosing the right project, right? Problem statement. When I say the project, I mean a problem statement. The next important thing is to showcase the right skills as such, right? So whatever algorithms that you have essentially learned, right? Be it you need to do the project in a complete, you need to give a complete treatment to the project, from exploratory data analysis, from data cleaning to EDA to modeling to interpretation, everything you should be able to do. And also try to highlight the skills that the company is looking for. For example, if you are aspiring for a financial services industry, they are primarily looking at the interpretation of a model. They are not interested in sophisticated models being used, but they are interested in the interpretation, like models which are interpretable. So you should essentially highlight your skills in those areas as such. Whenever you see the final model, you should be able to interpret your model really well, being able to explain the model to the stakeholders as such. And again, right, I see a lot of people just doing some codes, doing some analysis and leaving it over there, right? But that is not what's required, right? That what is expected from you is actually to interpret the results also, right? You need to offer your interpretation of, okay, if I see whenever I essentially show a graph or a plot or whatever, I need to offer what I see from the graph as such, right? What are the different things that I essentially see over there, right? So just showcase the right skills and the qualifications that the company is essentially looking for. The third and the most important thing is you need to narrate a story around the data, right? Whenever you take a data set, you work around it. At the end of the day, you should be able to narrate a story. What was the problem? How did you go about fixing it? What are all the insights that you got? Using these insights, how you will be able to make this industry better? Like things like that, it should follow a story. And also you should be able to explain your project both to a layman who have no idea what the problem statement is, and also an expert who have been doing this thing for a long time as such, right? So these are the basic of how to go about creating the right project, taking up the right problem statements and solving them as such, right? This will create a solid data science portfolio, which you will be able to, cash on, right? When you are applying for different roles as such, you will be able to cash on this solid portfolio. It will deepen your understanding of data science also, and you will also be able to market them really well also when you do this. The next thing is, how do you go about creating a DS resume as such, right? So I think Sudha offered a lot of insights around it. These are things from a technical perspective. I am actually looking for some basic details, like what is your educational qualification? What is the programming languages and tools that you essentially know, right? What are all the DS projects that you have already done? And what is your GitHub, Kaggle, Stack Overflow profile as such, right? So we would always go through, as Sudha also mentioned, we will always go through your GitHub, your Kaggle and Stack Overflow profile to see how much contributions you have essentially made. And finally, your contact details. These are some basic details that we expect in your resume. Some do's and don'ts are, first things, right? How much ever experience you essentially have, it would be better if you could fit your resume in a single page as such, right? Because more than a page, we would lose out interest. We will not be able to take up that much amount of information as such. Right. Next thing is, I see some people essentially going overboard as such, right? They would be very excited about, say, Tableau, or they would be very excited about Power BI or something. And they'll be essentially having their resume in the Power BI format with a lot of visualizations around. It's all allowed. It's all okay to be having a funky resume. But at the end of the day, it must be neat. It must be easily interpretable as such, right? I should be able to read it clearly as such. It should not be confusing to me, right? And don't like load up your resume with just a lot of information, just to keep it precise, whatever you have essentially done. And the next very, very important step is, you need to tailor your resume for the job role that you are essentially applying for, right? Whenever you get a job role, you'll have the job description. Based on that job description, you need to also tailor your resume as such, right? Like if you are applying for a financial services industry, right, you should highlight all the projects that you have done in finance. If you are applying for FMCG, you should highlight your projects that you have done for FMCG, and whatever skills that they have essentially mentioned in the JD, right, you need to highlight the same. If you know it, obviously you need to be honest over that. If you know it, you need to highlight such kind of things as such, right? So always have resumes for particular job roles. Don't have a templatized resume. Try to make some changes so that you will be able to fit well with the job description also over there. Okay, this is with respect to how do you go about creating a data science resume. The next thing is, okay, now that you have done a project, you have had a very good solid portfolio, how do you essentially convey the same thing in the resume, right? How do you convey your project in a resume as such, right? So the 4 important things I'm looking for as a technical guy is, why you did it, what did you do there, how you did it, and what did you essentially achieve. Why you did it is essentially going to be what the problem statement is. Why is this problem statement required now? Second thing, what did you do? What are all the different things that you tried? What was your contribution to that problem statement as such, right? And the third thing is going to be how you did it. How you did it is where I'm looking for your tools that you have essentially used, languages that you have used. And the final thing is, what did you finally achieve as such, right? Just don't how much contribution you are able to make, or was it better than other people's? Are you able to make better on the existing algorithms as such, right? This is what I'm looking for. So let's take a simple thing, right, which is taken from my resume. When I have actually done a risk profiling of customers, right? This was back few years back, wherein we essentially developed algorithms wherein a customer walks in, they given all their meta details, right? And based on the details, we'll essentially categorize them, whether they could take high risk or they could only take low risk as such, right? So the first paragraph essentially conveys why I did it, right? I created what did I do and why I did it. Created a risk profiling model to evaluate the individual's ability to take systematic financial risk, right? So I'm creating a risk profiling model. That's what I'm doing. What am I going to do with this? Based on this risk profile, the best financial products were offered to the client. Based on how much ever risk that they are able to take, we will be able to tailor the products that we will be able to offer to the customers. Right? This is the problem statement. This is the business problem statement. Then second part is what I did, right? Which essentially tells me as what I did. I developed the entire model pipeline from data collection to inferencing as such. Right? I've just kept it short over here. Third paragraph is what I'm telling what are all the tools that I essentially used. I used Python for it. I used scikit-learn. I used matplotlib, and I also deployed my algorithm in AWS Compute. Right. So these are the why, what, and how. The last part is going to be as to what I achieved by doing it, right? So I over that project, we got validated by SEBI. So I essentially put it over that. And I'm also saying that the model performed at par with certified financial analysts. You can say with respect to numbers also, if you are able to get a R squared of 0.88, or the existing best R squared was 0.87, and you improved on it by 15%, you can say that. Or if your if you are solutioning at a R squared or whatever metric that you are essentially causing, the top 10%, 10% or top 5%, you can also highlight that aspect over here as such, right? This carries the entire details that you have done about the project to the resume as such, right? Why, what, how, and what did you achieve, right? This is how you essentially go about organizing the projects. This will give you a good clarity to the technical interviewer as to what you have done. Such. This is with respect to how you go about creating a portfolio, how you essentially make a good resume. Once you are past this and like you applied for multiple roles, you would probably get a call back as such, right? They'll get you a call, give you a call back for an interview. So before interviews, these are some steps that I essentially follow, right? The first and the most important thing is you need to research the job description very thoroughly as such, right? Because the job description will carry lots of information regarding what kind of questions you can expect. The JD has a lot to do with data engineering, SQL, data management, ETL, right? Then most of the questions will be on SQL, pandas, how like cleaning you will do, how visualizations you will do as such, right? If the JD is to do more with the modeling aspect, then they will ask you a lot of machine learning related questions over there as such, right? So completely thoroughly research the JD. The JD is just a information mine. It will tell you what the company is looking for, what kind of questions you can expect, and you will be able to prepare accordingly also. And also you need to do a good amount of research on the company. You need to be able to say what is their business, how do they make money, what are the things that they are essentially looking for, what are the products that they are offering, how is it better than others, and everything, right? The next thing is most of the data science interviews will essentially have a programming round as such, right? So you need to brush up your programming, be it Python, be it C++, whatever, right? You can just go through code. If you are if already joined in the course, you can go through Code Kata, or you can which is our internal GUVI platform, wherein there are a lot of questions actually there. Right? Most of the questions are also the question bank is actually created based on other interviews also, on real-time interviews also, right? So you can just brush up your programming. You can try out some 5-6 problems for 10 problems before the interview and make yourself comfortable that you know all the basics as such. The third thing is to revise the theory of data science and machine learning aspect, right? So here is where I usually have a cheat sheet. Whenever I'm learning about any ML algorithm or data science, right, I usually make the most important points with respect to that model, right? I'll just note it down. I'll create a cheat sheet for myself. I'll just keep on looking at the cheat sheet before the interview, right? I'll just revise based on the cheat sheet, and then that will give me an overall picture of what the theories of DSL and ML. Usually the questions over there would be some slightly tricky questions like what is a confusion matrix, what is a false negative, false positive, what is correlation essentially measuring. It will be very basic, but then it will test your knowledge on whether you have understood the concepts well or not as such, right? And the fourth important interview preparation is to know your projects in great detail. I see a lot of candidates come when I ask them about some of the projects they have done, they'll tell me they did it 3 years back, 4 years back. No, that doesn't work, right? Whenever I see a project in your resume, right, it gets me excited. I would like to know what was your contribution, whether you did the project or not, how were you able to contribute to the project and all, right? So just know your projects in a very, very great detail, right? They'll ask you questions like, why did you do this? Why did you not do this and all, right? So you should be able to answer them also. Right? And the last part, which is the most important, is once I've seen a lot of students who are very bright in Python, who are very good in data science, but then they would essentially get panicky when it comes to an interview or such, right? So you'll be able to easily combat it only by attending a lot of mock interviews only, right? You need to attend as many mock interviews as possible, 3-4 mock interviews as possible, right? So the next a real interview just feels like a mock. It just feels like a discussion only when you go there, such, right? So these are some basic steps that you can follow to make yourself confident that you are essentially you can handle any sort of questions that are thrown at you. Such. The next is going to be the very, very important step, right? Just before the interview, right? I have one rule over here, just chill and relax as such before the interview, right? You have studied a lot, you have prepared everything. You should not get panic, or you should not be afraid when you are essentially go to the interview as such, right? You just feel like it's a discussion or a chat with your friend. It's a formal chat with a friend as such, right? So just before the interview, just relax. Don't think a lot about what sort of questions and all, and be confident. Be confident that you will be able to give the correct answers as such, right? And during the interview, right, this interview process, I would essentially, a technical interview, I would like to divide into 2 parts. One is the behavioral aspect of a technical interview, and then is a technical aspect as such. In the behavioral aspect, right, as Sudha also mentioned, the objective of the interviewer is not to find the correct answer from you, right? The objective of the interviewer is to find out how your thought process is going to be, right? So the first rule is going to be think out loud. Even though you know the answer, I'm not interested in the final answer, but I'm interested in the steps as to how you got the final answer as such, right? So every step, think out loud. The second thing is think quantitatively. When I say think quantitatively, do a logical reasoning. Don't jump from one step to the other. Don't jump to logical conclusions, right? Take one step at a time. Try to deduce the problems and think logically over there, right? This is what they are primarily looking for, whether you are able to think such. And the third thing is they will for sure ask you some questions which you may not know about, right? You can just admit that you don't know. The objective of the interview is to not check whether you know all the concepts, but whatever concepts that you have claimed that you know, whether you know to a good detail or not, that's what they are trying to gauge over there, right? So just admit, whenever you don't know something, just admit to them, that's all right, right? They will only ask questions regarding whatever you know. These are with respect to the behavioral aspects as such. And with respect to the technical aspects, right? Usually the types of questions that I usually asked in data science interviews, right? That I also ask a lot. There are four kind. One is going to be programming questions. I'll give you an easy programming problem and you should be able to do that. The second thing is the data science related questions as such, right? Some theory of data science. What is this? What is that? What is this theory? What is linear regression? Why is it called linear? Things like that. The third is questions on your project. The moment you put in any project in your data resume, right? I'll be very much interested in it. I'll ask a lot of questions around it. The fourth is going to be case study based questions. I'll give you a problem statement, right? Like whatever problem statement that the company is essentially facing. And I would essentially expect you to come up with a solution, build up a solutioning process as such, right? So these are the common types of questions. And how do we go about preparing for each of them? The first thing is the programming questions. This is the easiest to essentially prepare. All you need to do is practice, right? You can just go through. There are lots of resources available in the internet. GUVI also has their code kata platform. There is also other idea code chef and other platforms as such, right? You can go through all the questions. You can try to do as many questions as possible as such, right? Then even with programming questions, there are different flavors of questions. Something to do with data structure, something to do with algorithms, something to do with the searching, something to do with sorting, something to do with dynamic programming, something to do with greedy algorithms, right? You can do 5-6 problems in each of the flavor as such, right? So that you will get overall sense of what kind of questions you can expect. The next with respect to data science questions, the data science questions also, all you need to do is just revise whatever theory that you have learned, right? Again, as I told you, you need to create a cheat sheet, right? And you can just go through the cheat sheet once before the interview, right? That will give you a complete picture of what are all the theory aspects of data science and ML and such. The third thing is going to be questions on your project, right? I always feel that questions on your project is the easiest of all of them as such, right? Because they are asking questions regarding something that I have a lot of knowledge on, that I have done in great detail. So all you need to make sure is know your project in detail and should be able to explain it really well, right? You should be easy. It should be, you need to convince the interviewer that you know the project to a very good detail as such, right? And the last is the case study based questions, right? Case study based questions are a bit tricky because over there in the preparation, right, you need to practice formulating some DS problems for different fields as such, right? In your free time, you can just think about how does Netflix solve their problem of recommendation? How does Spotify solve their problem of recommendation? How does matrimony.websites essentially, solve their problems of giving a good match. Such kind of, just think about these kind of problems, whether you would classify it as a supervised learning problem or unsupervised learning problem, what sort of data you would like to collect, what sort of algorithms you would like to try out, and all these things, right? Whenever you get the free time, just try to go through this, right, in your head as to how they do it, how these people do it, right? That is, I think, the correct way to essentially do. There is not a question bank that I'm aware of which has a lot of case study based questions, but this is one easy way, right? That even you can think of how GUVI essentially takes the right students, right? How do they go about asking students, contacting with the right students? These kind of problems you can just think about and try to formulate in your head how you will, if you are the data scientist in that firm, how you would go about answering these questions, right? This is with respect to the interview. And overall, right, first we looked at how do you go about creating a portfolio. Then we essentially looked at how do you go about creating the right resume. Then we looked at what was the pre-interview prep that you need to do and what was the during the interview prep that you need to do, right? So will give you an overall sense of what sort of questions to expect, how do you go about preparing them and everything. And finally, the most important thing, Gyan, that I essentially live by is essentially just build confidence. The question is not whether am I ready for this interview. at any point, one point in time, you should essentially be that the question should be if this interview is actually ready for me as such, right? So with this, I would like to bring this to a closure. I'll open up the forum for some questions as such.